when you dare to take a breath. Don't care about no medals on your chest. You're a steely-eyed killer shadow in the night. You were born to fight. You gotta light 'em up.
Welcome to Straight Outta Combat Radio. Proudly American, unapologetically patriotic, and politically incorrect. We are The Voice, the platform for transitioning veterans, honoring their stories and wisdom.
They're hellbound. Save us all before they burn it down.
Welcome to Straight Outta Combat Radio. I'm John Krotek, Army veteran.
And I'm Chris Hager, Gold Star father.
Our veteran guest today is retired Army Staff Sergeant Robert Henline, also known as Bobby or the Well Done Comedian, and we'll get to that in a minute. Bobby's last tour was with the 82nd Airborne. He spent 13 years in the Army, completing 4 tours overseas. Well, on his 4th tour in Iraq, 3 weeks after his arrival, an IED exploded underneath his Humvee. It was April 7th, 2007, and it's a day he's never going to forget. The 4 soldiers, his buddies who were with him, were all killed, and those are Bobby's angels. As he stumbled out of the wreck, a human torch, quite literally, he was extinguished by the soldier he had replaced in the Humvee. With burns covering almost 40% of his body, fractured bones in his face, and his head burned to the skull, he was put into a medically induced coma for 2 weeks and flown back to the United States of America. So here we are 10 years later, and Bobby's been working his tail off. He's taken this tragedy into a life full of joy, family, and friends. And like I said, he's also known as the Well Done Comedian. He's performed at Brad Garrett's Comedy Club in Las Vegas, which is where I've met him, and at the Laugh Factory and Hollywood Improv, to name a few places. He continues to spread his message. His story and lived experiences have been featured in numerous media over these 10 years, including the documentaries Comedy Warriors, Healing Through Humor, Healing Bobby, and Weight of Honor. He has appeared on numerous television, radio, and podcasts around the world. His other experience includes modeling, acting, writing, poetry, and songwriting, as well as being co-founder of Bravo 748 Military and Combat Speakers Bureau. This company invests in veterans, and in a big way. He has speakers, and Jamie Burton, he has speakers and entertainers with a mission of giving back to their communities through their experience, stories, comedy, music, and more. Very privileged to have Staff Sergeant Henline here with us today. Good morning, Bobby. Thank you.
Good morning. Straight Outta Combat. How you guys doing?
I'm excellent.
Doing great.
It is an honor to have you on the show with us.
I got to say, yeah, meeting you for the first time, and I know you're going to want to get to that, but meeting you out in Vegas for the first time and hearing your shtick, if you will, just incredible and quite an inspiration.
Thank you for having low standards. I appreciate it.
I knew you were going to say that, but anyhow, so let's before we get into the subject matter, let's tell us about the Henline household. We want to know, what was it like growing up?
Growing up, well, I was the son of a drunken sailor.
Quite literally.
Literally. Now, my parents, my dad was Navy. My parents got divorced when I was 8 months old. So till about 10 years old, I lived with my sister and my single mom in California. At 10, she married my stepdad, who was also Navy. So, I grew up basically a Navy brat. Always played baseball. My mom would not let me play football because she was afraid I'd get hurt. But then at 17, says, all right, and signs for me to go into the Army.
Yeah, as if you couldn't get hurt there, really.
Right.
What year was that?
That was 1989.
Wow.
When I first went in. And, she knew I needed the discipline at that point, In high school, I was the DJ at the roller skating rink, worked at a video store. I wasn't very good in school. So she knew I needed another outlet and another path in life that I didn't know what I was going to do. my uncle had actually talked me into joining the Army. And so my mom said, yeah, that's a good idea. He needs to do that. and signed me away.
So how old were you? Right after high
17
school?
years old.
Wow. Tell us about that.
So I joined at 17 and out of California, went boot camp and everything. And went to first calf, here at Fort Hood. And then, of course, that back then, that was 89 when I joined. So I was in Desert Storm with first calf. I shipped out. I turned 19 in September that year in 90. And the very next month, I was off to my first war in
Wow.
Desert Storm. So I did Desert Shield, Desert Storm back then. Got out of the military in 92. And I did my time, did my service. I was going to go back home. I wanted to go back to school and do like a physical ed coach and high school counselor to try to help kids stay in school. They were kind of the same boat that I was in. It was my plan. It was either that or become a police officer.
So then,
Neither one of those plans worked out.
Well, it's funny that we will get more involved in the parallels between you and my son, but he was a little younger than you are. But in 94, he was not going to survive his junior year in high school. So I started a high school for him. And he was in the first graduating class in 94 and made it. I wanted him to have a diploma so he could join the Army if he wanted to at some point, because in those days, a GED wouldn't do it.
so what are you saying? Bobby's was a troubled kid?
Absolutely.
Come on,
I
come on,
understand
man.
that. But I know it from the parent side.
I hear you.
Exactly. I mean, there's nobody's normal and didn't go through some stuff and become a stand-up comedian. you have to have stuff like that in your background. It's just part of life, right?
Yeah.
We're not stable people if you become a comedian.
Well, how do you, being a comedian, let me just ask one of the heartfelt questions is, how do you join a club have people join a club that you wouldn't join yourself? Would you ever actually go listen to yourself tell jokes? That's a problem.
Right, yeah, no, I don't even like listening to myself on the radio.
Oh. So it didn't work out. So you wanted to be a police officer, all these things. I know you got, hellacious dance moves. I have seen those. So I'm kind of wondering, why didn't you go the dance route?
Well, okay, here's a funny thing. Actually, in high school, they had we had to write a report on what you want to be when you grew up in one of my English classes, like creative writing classes. And of course, I wrote about how I was going to be a Chippendale.
Man, I get it now.
I had it all worked out. It was Mr. Bob, the heartthrob. I had a logo drawn up.
That's hilarious. But no, I'm not joking, Chris. I have seen Bobby on the dance floor in various countries around the world, and he has the moves. You would not believe them.
Oh, that's cool.
That just sounded really creepy the way you said that,
John. John is really creepy. You just understand.
Oh, don't listen to those guys. But
I've seen Bobby's dance moves in many countries all around.
No, I was in Canada. I think you were in Canada dancing too this past summer.
You can consider him one of your groupies.
Yeah, my international dance tour with John.
Yeah.
Hey, that could be a good one on stage, I think. So second enlistment. What's that all about?
Well, I was out for 10 years, and I started a family, and that's why my ex-wife didn't want to be married to a police officer. It was that's what took me away from going into the police force. Is she didn't want to be married to anybody in uniform. She knows that lifestyle is not the easiest for a family, whether it's military or first responder. So I kind of steered away from it, and I stayed driving trucks there in the Bay Area. We eventually moved up to Washington State in 2000, just because California, for a poor kid that has no education, trying to work 4 jobs to feed his family, it's rough. So we moved up to Washington State, where it's a little more affordable for us. And then 9/11 happened. And, of course, being military and always wanted to go back in, but the wife didn't want to be married to the uniform. So she always told me not to go back in. She's never been around it before. But I knew I shouldn't have got out. I always felt my drive in my life, I should have been there. That was my calling. So after 9/11, I went back in, and she kind of jokingly said, yeah, go ahead. And she thought I was too old, that they wouldn't take me back. At that point, I was 30 years old. So I told her, all right, I leave. I left October 31st the next month, and I was back to basic training again. had to do it all over. I was out 10 years, so you had to start over from scratch, back to basic training and school. And then this time, though, I went airborne.
So you were one of the older guys. I mean, going back in, obviously, they must have, got you in some kind of leadership position.
Right. There was a lot of us prior service guys signed up to come back in after 9/11. Matter of fact, we had overflow barracks. They had to stick us in. We had to wait a little longer before we even get to basic training. We were so overcrowded with us. They had to kind of spread us out a little bit. But even then, we had 5 guys in my platoon, in my company, in basic training. So, of course, they put us all, okay, there's the 4 squad leaders and the platoon sergeant right there in basic training. You guys are in charge. Drill sergeants kicked back and said, all right, you guys train them.
Heck of a unit, I'm sure.
We had a good time. And of course, the drill sergeants recognize it right away when they see an older guy. Most of the time, it's going to be prior service. Once in a while, you get someone to say they want to go in, at older age. But, yeah, right away, they came up to me and said, you're prior service. Yes, drill sergeant. And, of course, they thought it was funny. They thought I looked like Richard Gere, from Officer and a Gentleman. So they made me do flutter kicks and yell, there's no place like home all the time.
What was airborne school like?
That was fun. I had a dream to go airborne the first time I went in when I was 17. But, again, here my mom didn't want me to get hurt, so she would not sign for me if I went airborne. So I made a deal with her. She quit smoking that I wouldn't go airborne. And she finally quit smoking, I think, last year.
Well, good for her. After all this has happened, but she held up her end of the bargain for sure.
Right. Yeah. And then when I go back in, I called her. I said, "You can't stop me. I'm going airborne this time." And but yeah, just like any other mama's boy, I called her every time I jumped and said, "I'm okay. I made it."
So were you 101st or 82nd? Who would you go?
82nd.
I went to the only and number 1 real airborne unit, 82nd.
That's where my son was too.
Yeah, we don't consider 101st airborne anymore. Those dopes on the rope. We we love our brothers, but yeah, they're not us. They're not that cool.
My dad was a glider pilot in World War II, and he got attached to the 82nd flying diesel into Patton in Italy. And we had the honor of my dad pinned my son's jump wings on him when he got out of 82nd. And he had been attached to the 82nd under Patton.
Yeah, and you find a lot of that, tradition like that, especially with the airborne guys.
Oh yeah, and then they'll tell you not to give them blood wings, but if you're old school and you're passing them down in family, you might put a little pressure on those pins as you stick them in their chest.
Hey, one of my favorite pictures that I've got of my son is he did a selfie at 600 feet.
Oh, nice.
And he got demerits for it because, of course, you're not supposed to do that.
They spotted him? They must have.
Right. Oh, yeah. They
got spotters out there looking?
But I got the picture, and it is priceless.
That's pretty cool.
Wow. So
nice.
That is cool. So here you are. You're back in. You're rock hard. You're running around like crazy, airborne soldier. And tell us about the first deployment, how that happened. Did you guys go right away?
No, not right away. I ended up being on the first shipment to Iraq, 2003. I was trying to get to Afghanistan, but I didn't get lucky. I had to wait and go to Iraq, 2003. So I hit the initial war. It was nice because coming back in, I'm 30 years old. I've been there before at a young age. I could talk to the younger guys and gals, and this is what you expect, and with problems back home, what they might expect out on the battlefield a little bit. So it's kind of a little going between the higher enlisted and the lower enlisted, because of course the upper enlisted guys, some of them came in the Army after me. They didn't have any combat experience. So I was kind of the go-between it. They know they can talk to me, and I can help relay stuff to young ones and help keep that tension down. And because in that situation, it's stressful. That's what basic training is all about, and drilling you and breaking it down to bring you back up so they know you can handle the pressure like that. But it was kind of nice to kind of be the go-in-between guy that can help keep the balance throughout the war with junior enlisted and upper enlisted and stuff. So it was a unique position to be in, but I was glad to be able to serve my country again and to serve, especially after what happened to, how we got attacked on 9/11, and just to be able to stand up and still say, hey, you're not going to do that to me, and I'm not going to sit here and take it. I'm going to join in the fight.
I think it's, pretty interesting that you said, a lot of prior service right after, 9/11, a lot of guys were going back in. That's kind of interesting. I mean, well, not interesting. There's a lot of people that love this country.
Exactly. Yeah. They knew they had something to still give, and we knew we were young enough to still do it at that time. Right on the border of being young enough, but still young enough and be able to do it. It was definitely physically a little harder for me at 30, but got back into shape and did well.
Awesome. Well, you're running pretty hard now too, with the tour that you got going on. So you manage to maintain, and I think that's what all those airborne guys do. They're used to running. Yeah,
right. It's our outlet. Getting out there. And unfortunately, a lot of the airborne guys end up with bad knees and can't run. So I wasn't in the unit that long. Well, I did 3 years with 82nd. So my knees weren't too bad. I can still do it today.
How many jumps did you get?
I only got 15 jumps in 82nd because the war, basically I was gone most of the time that I was with them. So I couldn't get in a lot of jumps. I got 37 jumps in skydiving now. I got that 2 years ago.
Oh, wow.
That's cool. Awesome, man.
Do you know Dana Bowman?
Yes, I do.
He jumped out at 12,000 feet above the beach in Naples last year or earlier this year and landed on the beach, walked up to me and pulled an honor and remember flag out from him and gave it to me.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
It was just the coolest. And I got to do a tandem jump with one of the retired Golden Knights.
Oh, nice.
And that was just spectacular.
Did you guys land on the beach, something like that? Wasn't that a beach jump or something?
No, I was at Fort Bragg. We were
that's
actually
even cooler, yeah.
Up on the western border of Fort Bragg. When he pulled the cord and the chute came open, he stalled it, and I had a package of the ashes from my son that I let go at 10,000 feet above Fort Bragg.
Oh my God, that's incredible!
It was
that's awesome.
It was a moment I'll never forget.
No kidding, that's a precious moment. Oh my God, I would love that.
Yeah.
And the reason my mom didn't want me to go airborne is because most of my family was Navy. I had one uncle go Army, and he was 18 years old, and his chute tangled up at Bragg, and he drowned in one of the lakes there.
Now I know why your mom, absolutely why she didn't want you to go.
Yeah, I would have been 18 going through jump school back then, and that's what her big thing was. She's like, you look too much like your uncle, you're not doing it.
Well, I got one jump. I got a tandem jump. I actually jumped with an SF guy above the beach here in Sarasota. It was kind of cool. I won it at the Brian Bill Foundation, Navy SEAL that was lost on extortion. But interesting world up there, and I can't even imagine doing it with full combat gear on.
Oh yeah, whole different world. But I still can't get over you be able to drop your son's ashes. That's just, I don't even explain how awesome that is. I don't know the words for it.
And it was the most, and they photographed it. They got a video of it.
Yeah, I've seen burials and stuff like that where a skydiver will have their ashes spread out for the jump. But, for a father to do it with his son and they're at Bragg, that's just amazing.
It was, I am honored and blessed to have had some of those moments.
Yeah, I just think about I was excited because my kids, my oldest and one of my sons, two out of 4 kids, actually went skydiving with me.
Oh, cool!
And so it was really cool.
That is cool.
When I had my license and they were jumping tandem, but I got to jump with them. Kind of give them a high five, and I jump out the door, and then their instructor jumps out and
nice
get to see them for the first time. So that was really cool.
My problem was that after instead of going to college immediately, I left high school and learned to fly, and I've always wondered why anybody would leave a perfectly good airplane when you can land it. But
I have heard that before, and I kind of get it.
That's because we're scared of the guy flying the plane.
That's right. So what was it, Bobby, what was it like in your deployments? What was Iraq like? What did you see there?
Well, it was definitely a different war than Desert Storm for sure. I saw a lot. I met a lot of locals. My main thing is I love the humanitarian missions. As we moved up that first year all the way up into Baghdad, I love the humanitarian missions. I love bringing the locals some food and water or helping rebuild the schools and stuff like that. But a lot of what I did in the beginning was, just taking infantry guys in, and we were doing raids and going through cities and clearing out the bad guys all the way up to Baghdad. And then we camped out in South Baghdad the rest of the year, built a FOB there, the forward operating base, and just really getting to know the locals. That was the best thing for me. I mean, there's a couple of, the normal things of war with fighting and all that stuff, but that the best was really getting to know the people and know that they were glad we're there. You see the news on stuff, oh, should we be doing that, doing this? I mean, these Iraqis had to live their life stressed every day. People could come across the Iran border, snatch their kids. You couldn't talk about Saddam because he would take some big goon guy, give him a free house, and say, all right, these 3 or 4 blocks are yours. You're above the law. Let me know if anybody talks about me. So he just put people like that in neighborhoods and give them power, and that's what everybody had to live in fear every day. I met one guy, I traded him a pair of boots, and he built me a bookshelf so I could put next to my cot to kind of organize my stuff. And he was telling me how he got arrested because his truck was noisy. He was working on one of Saddam's palaces, and he didn't have a lot of money. He had a little beat-up truck, and it made some noise. Well, that annoyed Saddam, so he put him in jail for 5 days. So when you hear stuff like that, and you want to make the country a better place, I knew from the beginning, I told everybody, it's not like we're going to go in there and they're going to be freed and it's going to be great right away. It's going to take years and years. We're looking at 20, 30 years from now to, I think, you really see a bigger change. The Iraqis now are starting to step up and fight back. We trained them well. They kind of got nervous and scared and backed off when ISIS came in. But now you see they're taking their cities back. And we're doing it. We're out there helping them. Don't get me wrong. I know we're out there. We don't have as many troops on the ground, and we're doing a more special ops the way we should do it. And that's what's happening. We're doing it the right way, and we're helping them get their confidence back and take back their country. And when they get it fully back, these kids, the younger generation, it's their hearts and minds that we want. They know what a better life they have now. And they're the ones they're going to remember back later when they're leading the country of what happened. And so I think that's when we're going to see their big, major difference really start changing.
Well, that's great work. Did you see, Bobby, when you were there with all these different deployments, you were in Iraq through all of them?
Iraq was all of them, yeah. Desert Storm, and then 2003 I was in Baghdad. 2005 I did a deployment with 3rd ACR up in Tel Afar, up by the Syria border. Then 2007, of course, I went back. I was just serving just north of Baghdad in Zagania, helping out with the Battle of Bakuba there when my Humvee got blown up.
Did you see, during these deployments, did you see changes? I mean, obviously it was, not static, but how did the war change throughout your deployments?
The war changes basically the rules of engagement, change, of course, the people, and it just got better and better. To me, I saw it getting better and better. People were happier. It got more humanitarian stuff. The last time, not the last time I was there, but the 2005, I was doing more humanitarian events and rebuilding that area besides Tel Afar there, but most of it was rebuilding it. As soon as we cleaned it up, we kind of did just like Fallujah. We put the berm around it, told all the good people to get out because they're coming in to get the bad people, and we did that. And so after that, was kind of rebuilding that town that year and saw major change. But then, of course, the last 2007, I was there with the big surge going on, a lot of battle, a lot of fighting.
And that was your last deployment, was during the surge,
right?
The stories I get from my son that were so cool was that, and it's just exactly what you said. He'd go out at night with a silenced weapon and protect little kids playing soccer, or take sugar to the chief so he could have tea with sugar. And some of the pictures I've got of Josh with Iraqis are where he cared so much, and they reciprocated. I think that's one of the things that we don't hear enough about. The Iraqis really did appreciate so much of what we were doing.
Yeah, 2003, a little Iraqi boy saved my life. We were moving up into Baghdad. We weren't into Baghdad yet. And we had a convoy going, I had the gun truck. Another vehicle broke down. We pull over. We know nothing's established yet. We don't know where other units are, basically where the bases are, and so we got to try to figure out how someone can help us with this vehicle. So my truck stays with this other truck, and we guard it until the rest of the convoy goes and gets help. We're standing there. Some of the locals come out, and the Iraqis come out, and they're talking to us. One of them that happened to live local by went to college in San Francisco. So he spoke English, and of course we just named him Frisco because that's what we do. So we're talking to Frisco, and he's telling us a little about the area, and he's saying, well, you guys shouldn't stay too long. There was a battle here just a couple of nights ago, and it's not a good area to be in, but we had no choice at the point at that time. So as we're talking to him, I got to go to the bathroom. So I find a tree, and I start to walk around behind this tree to go to the bathroom, and the little boy said, no, mister, boom, boom. And he points down, and there's 2 bomblets just sitting there that I would have stepped on and not even paying attention to. And it was an area that we had dropped bomblets over during the beginning of the war. So I could have stepped on that. And at the time, I was like, oh, my God. I get excited. I thank the little boy, took pictures of the bomblets. I'm telling my buddies, I'm going to step on these. You guys watch out for this whole field. So it kind of opened our eyes to what was around us at the point. And it was easy out there because you got to put in the back of your head that I almost died. 2 more steps and I could have been dead.
Wow.
And you put it on your head, and it's crazy. But when you get back home, you explain that to your family, and you're seeing them, that's when you just, boom, then all the emotions come out, and then you let it go. And it was hard to tell for the first 2 years, tell that story without losing it and crying. But, yeah.
I can't even... being highly vigilant all the time, and that just shows you a perfect example of that. Not everybody over there was the enemy, and that there were people that were very appreciative of what was going on. What was, in April 2007? Tell us about that mission you were on.
For that mission, I don't remember much from the mission. I do know that we were taking out some engineers to go. We were doing our route. And along that, we're taking some engineers out with some equipment to help us build up some forward operating bases a little better. And we left probably about 7 or 8 in the morning. I remember having a cup of coffee that morning because that was the only time that Captain Grassball came out with us. And, so we were waiting on him, and that's when I had time to get extra coffee. And that's how I remember that I had coffee that morning. And then I got hit about 5 o'clock that evening. The whole day is wiped out. But it turned out to be, from the report and talking to guys, it was 3 to 4 155 rounds, the artillery rounds buried in the center of the road. It was controlled detonated. Someone was hiding in a terrace of a house watching us and waiting for the convoy to come. And we were just actually leaving one of our bases, and I was the lead vehicle when he detonated it underneath my vehicle, throwing it 20 meters, destroying it, flipping it upside down. Pictures I have of it, you could barely recognize the one corner panel on the front end by my seat.
What seat were you in? What seat were you in?
Riding shotgun. I was up front in the TC. I had a gunner, driver, and then 2 passengers that we had with us. Taking them around Grassball, and we're picking up Imolo. We're picking him up to bring him into another base because he was out of the forward operating base, so kind of switching him in and out, giving somebody else a break type event. We got hit. 2 of us were put in the helicopter, the gunner and I, Levi. We were both put in the helicopter to take the Balad, and we lost Levi on the way to the hospital there in Iraq. And then I was shipped off, of course, to Germany and then back to the States, and that was all within 72 hours. They got me back to the States.
Where did you ended up at Walter Reed up in D.C.?
No, I came to Fort Sam Houston at Brooke Army Medical Center here in San Antonio. All the burns come to San Antonio. It's the best burn unit.
And you refer to your buddies as your angels.
Yes. That first year was really rough for me. Survivor's guilt. Didn't know I was alive. Doctor said there's no medical explanation why I was alive. I was a burden to my family. Kids have to help me tie my shoes or tell me where to walk so I don't trip on something. I couldn't see for over 13 months. I had to wear goggles over my eyes with medicine in it, so I couldn't see anything really. It's kind of like my vision was, imagine driving through a bad rainstorm with no wipers. Really, really hard to see, get a little glimpse here and there. So I felt useless. I didn't think I'd be able to do anything else in my life, to sit on the couch and watch TV or something.
Well,
as I started healing with that.
No, go ahead.
It was hard. So I prayed to God every night for over a year just to take me. I was useless. I shouldn't be alive. I can't serve anymore. My family has to worry every time I go in for a surgery. Will I get another infection? Will I make it through that surgery? So it'd be easier for them if they could just go on. If I was dead, they could be able to move forward and not worry about me still dying. It took 18 months to finally get skin graft to work on my head. In 2.5 years, I had 42 surgeries. Now at 47 surgeries, and I'm doing number 48 this December. So yeah, just in a couple months here, I'll be doing my 48th surgery, some more work on my eyelids.
Wow, I've heard your one of your acts, and I got to say it's funny as hell. But how do you find humor in that, Bobby? Tell us, man. Tell us about your comedy. Tell us how you came up out of that with your comedy.
Well, with the comedy, it's something I've always kind of used even before. I always came with self-deprecating, made fun of myself, able to laugh at stuff. And I think anytime anybody goes through some hardship, when you're able to laugh at it, you kind of know you made it through it. If it's losing friends, losing loved ones, when you can laugh and remember their sense of humor, or think, like Chris, like your son, if you could picture things that he would laugh at, and you're seeing something, and you're like, oh my God, if he was here, he'd probably be laughing at that, and you remember a smile, and you remember those happy moments. I think those are times when we know we made it through it. It's nothing we'll never totally get over, of course, but we're able to push through it, and that's what I use with my sense of humor. As I was healing, it also let my family know I was okay. It let the staff know I was okay when they were stressed out if I was in too much pain, and it helped me deal with the pain. Physical therapy, occupational therapy, and make jokes. I remember the first joke I really did, and I was in ICU for a month, and I don't remember much of ICU because of the medication. I remember hallucinating a lot more than anything. But near the end of it, as I was off the ketamine, I'd have to try to walk again, and all I did was walk around the nurse's station. To me, it felt like a mile. But walking around it, I yelled at them because they would not give us water. It would even in the military, drink water, do push-ups, you'll be fine. Keep drinking water. I couldn't get water because there's no nutrition in it as far as protein and building your body. When you're burnt, I went from 210 pounds to 160 pounds. So they really got to get that protein in your body built back up. So they make you eat. And they want you to have insured shakes and stuff like that. So I was really angry. I couldn't have water. So walking around the nursing desk, I yelled at them. Tell them, when I get out of here, I'm having a water party.
Awesome.
No alcohol allowed. We're having squirt guns, water balloons, pools. We're having a water party. I'm having as much water as I want.
I love it.
Oh, man.
But that's the first time I remember really kidding around and joking about my situation. Again, at that time, I didn't realize how injured I really was. I went to the up-step unit in 4 East there, where I was out of ICU. And again, even then, I thought they were just going to fix me, right? Fix me up, and I'll be back on the battlefield, do some training, and go back to work. I'm just at the shop. So it took a while until it really hit me how injured I really was. Figure out what that was. So yeah, it was tough. But I always, during physical therapy, I always try to make jokes by the bedside or wherever it was, and trying to lighten the mood up for everybody because I know they were all worried. And when I got skin grafts and they failed, and or half of it worked, and especially with the head, it was really scary. I was out of the hospital for. I was only in the hospital for 5-6 months, and it took 18 months to finally get skin on my head. My wife would have to actually do wound care. she'd get the kids off to school and do 4 hours of wound care on me. She'd have to actually clean the tissue on my head. And, you know, if I was got infection from that, they said there's no way they could stop it. It's too close. My skull was actually shaved because parts of it hurt so bad that they had to shave that part off, which is why if you see my head, it's all lumpy. It's because of the shaved skull and stuff.
Yeah. I know you're doing some very interesting things now. It's how you and I first met was on LinkedIn with Bravo 748. I want you to talk a little bit about Bravo, but, you know, this just is a testament to Bobby's humor. You know, he's doing a tour now called Run Like You're on Fire Tour to raise awareness. And I mean, who does that? Bobby Henline does that. So, you know, it's like if the guy's doing that, we can do and accomplish anything, you know, and I, you know, the opportunity you've given me with Bravo, my own story, it's just all good. Tell us about Bravo and Jamie Burton. I know that you all are partners in this speaking consortium.
Yeah, you know, I started off, I didn't know what I'd be able to do with my life to give back. But after that first year, I started my independence back, and I was glad. You know, I started seeing the bright things in life, the little things we take for granted every day, like, hey, if I'm here to see my children grow up, what a blessing that is to watch them graduate and grow into their life. And someday I'm going to hold my grandchild. If I'm alive just to be that, I'm blessed just to be able to be around my family, you know, and be there. So that made me start thinking, okay, I'm here for a reason. And so I started getting more positive and being happy. And there was a story done on me just about that I was positive. And I realized at that point, wow, when people responded to that, saying that they couldn't fathom going through something like I went through and being positive on the other end, that helped them, that it showed them another way of looking at life and put it in another perspective that they could see, wow, if he could be positive after that, why am I grumpy today because my brakes had to get done on my car? You know, or because I locked my keys in my car, or I was out of my favorite cereal when I was looking forward to eating it. You know, they start looking at life differently, going, all right, it's going to be okay. So I realized I could help people by continuing to be myself, by using my sense of humor, by being positive and sharing my story. So I started doing that. And as it evolved, I'm bad at the business side. It just started to turn into a business. Speaking and doing stand-up comedy started coming as work. And I was bad about running my own business, basically, and asking for money and doing that stuff and organizing it. I just really wanted to help, but at the same time, I got to make a living like everybody else. And so my business partner with Bravo 748 she actually hired me to work for her company as a speaker. And she saw that as horrible, the business side of it. And so she was like, I'm going to help you. I'm going to help you, you know, do this business side. I think you need help and you need to get out there and more people and share and inspire. So she's like, help me. And when she was helping me, she saw that other veterans are doing the same thing. We all just want to continue to serve somehow, continue to help the world, you know, our own country, other veterans. But we have a hard time with the business side of it. So that's when we decided, well, let's start a military speakers bureau. Let's help these veterans. They're not just speakers, they're also entertainers. Some are just MCs, some are comedians, some are singers, and speakers, and they're talking about PTSD, PMS, and the PMS.
They could talk about that.
Have those two together can make you really dangerous.
Gosh. That's true.
T is what I was trying to say. You know, in leadership and everything. But all varieties that likely to talk about. I expect a brain injury. You know, this is not just stuff that happens to the military. This happens to the world, to everybody. So as long as we can share, and we got strong people like this that have made it through and can share how they made it through it and how they deal with it day to day, we need to help inspire. So that's why we decided to do Bravo 748. It's been going on for a little over a year now. And we have over 30 speakers. And that's what we're trying to get the word out now. It's like, hey, we have these great speakers, these veterans that need employment and want to inspire the world. And that's what we put them all together. It's a really important mission for us to help raise that awareness.
It is definitely a great idea, and I felt privileged. And you are so right about your business partner. She has helped me a lot with my own business, and like you say, I'm not the brightest business person in the world, but Jamie's been able to help us with our own mission, and it's just great to be part of such a collaborative effort. At Bravo 748.
She wants to continue to serve. Chris, she had lost her son.
Yeah.
She's not a Gold Star mom. Her son did serve in the Kentucky National Guard. While he was in the Guard, he wanted to get his pilot license. And on his last day before his graduating, pretty much, the plane went down. They lost everybody in the plane. And on the tail of his plane, 748. Of course, his name is Brian. So Bravo 748 is really mainly to continue the service of Brian that Jamie wants to do for her son, the service that he loved to do and help other veterans. He was always the kid that wanted to help everybody else and to make a difference. So Jamie's able to do that and continue to honor her son.
That's so cool. There's one of the interesting quotes that I remember that have affected me and why I want to do these kinds of shows, and it's an honor to talk to people like you. I don't know if you pay any attention to football, but the Packers have a quarterback, and a few years ago before a playoff game, one of their coaches lost a son in an accident in the ice. He fell through a pond. And a reporter asked Aaron Rodgers what he thought that would mean to the team. And Aaron Rodgers said, "I don't know. I've never known anyone who died, and I've never been to a funeral."
Wow.
And it has struck me from that point on, we have this millions of 25 to 35-year-olds that's true for them. Their parents are my age, they're baby boomers. Nobody's died. The tip of the spear is occupied by a minuscule number of soldiers. People don't have any clue what loss or survival means. I understand part of it. You understand an enormous part of it. And we do have a story that needs to be told, because there are lots of 30-year-olds who've never known anybody that died and have never been to a funeral. And it will happen to all of us.
And that's exactly the reason, Chris and Bobby, this, the reason why we have Straight Outta Combat, because these missions are good missions. And if we can take our skill sets and, create this network of people that have been through those significant experiences in their life, we can make the world a better place. We're preaching to the choir here, but actually it's true.
Yeah, I never even really thought about that, because me as a young kid, grandmother dying, I've had family members die, at my young age, even not just the military. I've had, so I've been to few funerals just as a kid, and then just going, my dad and my stepdad have both passed. So yeah, it's weird that to me, it was normal. To go to a funeral since I was a kid.
A really brilliant guy I know wrote a book, and he, it's an odd thing to say, but he said it's worth remembering. Every one of the people in the New Testament that Jesus healed died. We're all facing that.
That's a deep
point
thought, Chris.
It's going to take us all at some point.
Right.
It's true.
And there are massive numbers of people that pretend it doesn't exist, but it's real.
Yeah.
So you're on the Bravo 748 mission, and I know that you're doing this Run Like You're on Fire tour. You just did a run, I think. You were in Dallas, Grand Prairie.
Finished it up. That was the last one this year.
Tell us about that. What do you hope to do with that, Bobby?
Well, I started the tour. I'm going to do it again next year, too. I'm already starting to look at places for next year. But, we started Bravo, and we're trying to, we got all these speakers. Now, how do we market it? How do we get the name out there? And, of course, I'm not the smartest guy in the world. I'm a Forrest Gump. Tell me to do something, I can do it.
Yeah, you are.
I can make it happen. I can run. So I thought, wow, what if I run a 5K in all 50 states in 90 days? And that's why I came with Run Bobby Runs, the Run Like You're on Fire tour. And then, of course, people told me that's a great idea. It's a great way to raise awareness for Bravo, to get it out there and get these veterans jobs. But you don't have enough time this year to plan 50 states.
You're coming to Florida. We're here for you.
Calm down and dial back a notch is what I was told.
Which is tough for you. I know it is.
It was tough, so I ended up doing it 13 states this year. And I learned some lessons along the way. I had to maybe do a little better next year. So I'm going to continue to do it, but it's a little differently. So I go to these states and I let people set them up. I picked out a route. This time I'm not picking out a route. I'm going to see who wants to be part of it, because I had a lot of people that want to be part of it, but they wanted along my route. So I'm like, hey, you want me to come to your city? Email me, and we'll tell you what we need to set up this fun run. It's really pretty simple to do. It doesn't have to be registered time and all that crazy stuff. And you can make up your own. Like some people had a dog walk for 5K. Some we actually ran. One, I ended up running a 10K. I had to straighten them out and tell them it's only supposed to be a 5K. So, but that was fun.
Got it.
I was in New York, had a good time. And then the last one, they added some obstacle stuff to it. The gladiators there in Dallas added fire hoses. We had fire hose drags and slams, and we were just slamming the fire hoses and working your arms. You had an option, you could run it, you could walk it, you could just mess around with the fire hoses. They had stuff out there for kids to do. So
definitely
give a lot of different ideas that we can do this to help raise money and awareness. So I was doing it to raise awareness for Bravo 748, but at the same time I thought I could also raise money for nonprofits. So we raised money for service dogs, for Retrieving Freedom, where I got my service dog, Daisy, and then for the boot campaign's Reboot program, where we were raising money for traumatic brain injury, which my partner that's running with me, Michael Minigay, he has been going through the program for traumatic brain injury also. And next year is going to be a whole other thing. We are looking for cities that want to be involved. Anybody wants to kind of organize a run can email me at bobby@bravo748.com, and we can set up a date and get it started and plan for next year. We're going to do a different nonprofit next year, donation. We haven't worked out the exact details on which one it's going to be yet, but we do have some ideas.
That's awesome work. We would love to do one here, so you might be expecting an email here shortly. Just saying. What do you want, using your wisdom, Bobby, what do you want the civilian population to know about combat veterans? And the second part of that question is, what do you want people in uniform that are coming back from a combat environment to know? So what do you want civilians to know, and what do you want your buddies to know?
Kind of want them both to know the same thing, really. Because what's out there right now is you're hearing about post-traumatic stress disorder. Of course, some people don't like the disorder on it, and they just call it post-traumatic stress. But whatever you want to call it, it is what it is. I think that's the main thing coming back for the civilian side and the veterans. You can learn to live with it. You can still be functional. You can still be successful. I have my issues that I deal with. It's a matter of reminding yourself you're not where you think you are, or your body feels you are. A flashback's a different thing than PTSD. But these triggers that make you feel like you're in a situation that stops you or gives you anxiety and you can't breathe and you got to get out of that situation, those things can be tackled. You can learn to live with it and be successful. And so I want the veterans to know that, and I want the civilians to know that when it comes to hiring veterans. We're not just going to snap at work and start breaking stuff and all crazy. I think they have a vision in their head. I have my own issues I got to deal with, and I've been able to work through them and push through them. And I've learned by facing those things a little at a time, taking baby steps, you can get over them. And some of the stuff I still not totally over, but it doesn't bother me as bad. I'm able to breathe and relax and calm myself down when I get that anxiety. There are times I have to get out of an area, the situation that I might be in a crowded room. I just had to do that around a bunch of veterans. And usually I'm calmer with other veterans around, but this room just got crowded on me. John, you were actually in the room when I had to leave. I don't know if you know that's why I left. I didn't even sit down. It just got too crowded in that room, back against the wall, and it just got too much for me. My anxiety kicked in, so I went downstairs to the coffee shop and just took a breather for lunch.
Yeah. It was a crowded room, and I think Jamie had mentioned that to me. That's great wisdom, and can't say enough how much we thank you for being you and for your inspirational story. It is your life, and my gosh, you've taken something that might knock a lot of people down, but you've gotten back up in awesome form. And thank you for your service. I can't imagine any country in the world I'd rather be in than the United States of America. And because of people like you and the angels that aren't here, they're not here physically, but they're here. And for people like that make my life and lives of millions of people a lot easier. So thank you for that, Bobby, and for joining us here on Straight Outta Combat.
Oh, my pleasure. I just also want to put out to the veterans out there, survivor's guilt. Put in your head, think about it. If you were the one that didn't make it home, what would you want for the ones that did? You want the best for them. You want them to continue to live and to live honorably. And, that's one of my sayings is, live honorably in respect of those we lost. And that's what you got to do. Don't waste your life that you've been given. Take advantage of the freedoms that you help provide and go for it. Chase your dreams.
I thank you for, while John was talking, realized that maybe I can think of myself as a father of an angel, and that isn't too bad because I know Josh is looking down, and he'd be proud of you too, as he was of all of his boys.
There you go. Yeah. Oh my God. It's great concept. I love the way you put that. You're a father angel, and that's so true.
Yeah.
God bless you, my friend.
Well, we just want everybody to stay tuned for our next Proudly American, unapologetically patriotic radio show, Straight Outta Combat. And remember,
freedom is not free. Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, Bobby.
Thank you, guys.
Well, Chris, Staff Sergeant Bobby Henline, 82nd Airborne, he didn't just do one deployment, he did 4. And the tragic loss of his angels and who are actually still here with him, I mean, what a story.
I'm just wondering why every time we do one of these shows, I end up crying. But I also smile. Bobby makes me smile, and he can make any of us smile for his determination, but his nature. I mean, he's one.
He has one, and I have heard him on stage. He's phenomenal, funny as hell. He's got a great mission with Bravo 748. Just honored to be here, Chris, with you, Gold Star Father, and to have people like Staff Sergeant Henline on our show. I mean, it's been an experience for me as well, and it's all good. I just want to let people know that we're going to continue on with our mission. We're proud to be American. We're unapologetically patriotic, and we want everybody that hears this program to remember.
Freedom is not free. God bless you. Thank you, John.
God bless you, Chris. Thanks.
Before they burn it down.